Okay, let's start out with the news. There's so many files, bro. Yesterday we covered a little bit, but there are so many files. As always, subscribe, support the show, pay your taxes. We've had 13 Westerners pay their taxes this week. Usually we finish a week on at least 20. So 7 of you rich Westerners that can afford to pay Western tax are hella quiet. And I'm looking at you. I know who you are. Oh, you're like looking around. Oh, is he looking at me? Yes, I am looking at you. The rest of you pay your developing world taxes. Subscribe individually to support the show. Use your Prime, all the other stuff. We are 100% funded by you guys. And as you can see, the money actually goes into the show, not just into my alcohol consumption and very fast car driving. Okay? Okay. Let's start out with Upper Echelon, a apolitical or whatever we want to call it show, but one that really does very decent deep dives into these files. So we'll start with a real journalist, aka content creator, and then we'll move to so-called traditional media, aka fake journalism. Fake news! It is all fake news. Good Opsec is 3 P.O. boxes, 1 U.S. to get Western gifts, shipped to kits in St. Nevis to hide tracking info from us plebs. Then EU as final stop before your actual mail address. You could track it? Normal people could track a package. That's insane. But yeah, but it's problematic if somebody puts a tracker in my actual mail. But I'm not that important that somebody would really need to do it. And I would definitely get the packages and open them at the spot where I pick them up. I wouldn't order them to my address. I would order them to like the office. I would go to the office. I would then go outside in front of my car and I would open everything and check everything. And then I would transport it home. But I don't think that there's somebody that fucking insane. Thank you very much, Lex, as always. No, this is the first time, actually. Alexandria. Thank you, Alexandria, for the 2 gifties, my friend. Beautiful name, beautiful city. Buy a plant and I'll pay taxes. There you go. Great idea. A plant. But there's no sunlight in this room. That's why it's the office. Plant would commit harikiri.
And video gets out.
Okay, let's start with this shit. What happened to channels that started their videos like this with a big logo on the middle? It's kind of a very boomer thing to do. But I like it. I don't know. It sends me back to when I opened YouTube to hear a guy called Fred talk like this. Instead of nowadays opening YouTube and it's like, why all women are fucking whores. Oh, man. It used to be a different era. Back in the day, you click it. Fail army. Look at these people slipping. They are slipping and it is funny. Minorities should die and women are whores. It's like every other YouTube video now. Ah, son of a bitch. The West has truly fallen.
Okay, by the time this video gets out there, there's probably going to be even more, but with a brand new multi-million page Epstein data dump, I wanted to dive in and look at the most immediately damaging stuff that we have, and also talk about just how badly the government screwed up, because it is bad, like historically bad levels of incompetence. Let's start with this, because we absolutely need the context. This is Todd Blanche, former personal lawyer for Donald Trump, who is now Deputy Attorney General of the United States. On January 30th, 2026, Blanche took the stage for a massive press conference unveiling that the DOJ and the FBI would be releasing about 3.5 million pages of new Epstein files as required by congressional law. The important part is at about 4 minutes and 10 seconds in, where he discusses the redaction guidelines and bloviates at length about how strict the criteria was, how hard their staff worked on these redactions, and how nothing was being withheld on the basis of national security. If you actually listened to him and took his words at face value, which you absolutely should not do, this is the most transparent administration ever. The quality of their work is unimpeachable, and the redactions that they made were only to protect victim information, nothing else. Sadly, that is a lie. Over the course of today's video, I'll go through a series of examples in an effort to give as comprehensive a look as I can so far for this file dump. But at the end of it all, I want everyone to consider a question. Is the current governing administration in the United States telling the truth? Here we go. Item number 1, which is actually...
Listen, no, they're not. But also, if they this particular administration is so incapable of doing anything right, anything that requires actual intellectual labor, right? that even if their intention was to do this properly, they would have fucked up. That's the innate, almost natural accelerant towards reactionary decline. Why a society pivoting further and further right eventually shoots itself in both of its feet in order to create a country, a system, a culture in which one never looks at the actual underlying system, but instead looks towards their neighbors, those who are a little bit different, as the main reason behind your country's decline. If you follow that pattern of governance, if you follow that ideological pattern for a long enough time, when you proactively choose not to invest in education, when you proactively choose to dumb your wider population down, it is good for short-term power optimization, aka to make sure that nobody touches the current status quo, the current State Department, the current administration. But in the long term, you end up with a country, or in this case, let's call it political administrative subclass of people that genuinely don't know what they're doing. Like genuinely actually don't know what they're doing. You want time and time again, by dumbing down the majority of your population, especially the part that is politically proactive, and then you wonder why you can't take care of anything, be it when it comes to domestic or foreign policy. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your perspective, you know mine, this does not to an extent apply to America's foreign arm, the military-industrial complex, because that is kind of an animal that exists on its own. It still sees on average decline of expertise by regular everyday grunts, but the machine in of itself kind of can operate outside of the whatever the current administration is. But everything else is this self-confirming, continuous snake eating its own ass, as we like to say, where you dumb down your population so that you can make sure you stay in power because you need idiot, uninformed voters. But then those idiot, uninformed voters become so fucking stupid that you cannot run a competent administration because there's no competent people. Which then speeds up the same decline that you used as a way to prop yourself up in a position of power. So yeah, it is it's kind of an inevitability. The only way you can actually fix a declining country is, as we, dedicate ourselves to this particular argument here on the show all the time, is fixing, or better yet, completely changing the system that is the root cause problem. But when you're the defender of the system, you don't change the system. You just dumb down everybody so that they no longer see the problem in the system. Or if they never saw the problem in the system in the first place, they do not have the information processing capacity, let's call it that, to figure it the fuck out.
Two documents in this case, EFTA 016606.
Nor'easter, 6 months. That is beyond kind of you. Thank you very much, Nor'easter. I will count that as a tax payment. Those of you who are new, exclamation point tax, you will see how tax systems work. 6 months is basically 5 subs. It's a developing world subscription right there. Thank you very much, my friend. Welcome to the community.
79 and EFTA 0.
Ignorance is strength. Yes, unironically, that's the argument. But eventually that bites you in the ass. Eventually that literally bites you in the ass. The more you allow your general populace to be well-educated, well-informed, with a developed sense of critical thinking, the more difficult it becomes to govern in the short term. Because the majority of your population actually knows what is going on and is hypercritical of you, right? But in the long term, it's easier because you end up indirectly benefiting from the fact that your wider populace is basically built up by like wise people, by experts, by people who do not consider basic intellectualism to be the greatest enemy of civilization, etc., etc. So even if your governance is not that good, now this is an oversimplification on steroids, but I think you're following what I'm putting down here. Even if your administration ain't that like 10 out of 10, you just have a wider population of just like brilliant motherfuckers that are, for lack of a better word, raising all the boats. I shilled earlier. Yeah, that's why I'm not going to. But yeah, I'll shill in like 15, 20.
1660651.
I did it 8 minutes ago. It's annoying.
These documents show a collection.
Okay, anyways, speaking of incapable administrations, let's look at one that is the most cliche writing I've ever seen in my goddamn life, okay? We did a sketch yesterday. What was it? Like, if you believe in God or don't, I don't care. This is just for the sketch. Like, if God exists and God is writing down the destiny of the human race in the year of our Lord 2026. And like he's sitting down and he's writing the script, and the script is, and then we will figure out that an exceptionally wealthy and powerful pedophile was friends with every single high functioneer of state and capital. And they all hung out on an island and they touched children very inappropriately. And the angels around God are like, dude, Sir, that is a very shitty script. That is so cliche. It's like, really? There's a pedophile cabal that is like, that kind of functions as the midpoint for all of these incredibly powerful people to kind of connect through. That is so cliche. But no, God is burning the paper, bro.
One, which is actually two documents in this case, EFTA 01660679 and EFTA 01660651. These documents show a collection of insane allegations against Donald Trump. These come from the NTOC, National Threat Operations Center at the FBI, which is where they process and vet public tips, and some of them are very obviously marked as not credible. Others are flagged as no contact made after attempting to follow up with the caller. But here and there, you start finding that some of these reports resulted in a, quote, lead being sent to conduct interviews. Obviously, I can't comment on the authenticity of these allegations overall, but there's something else I found interesting, something far more important in my mind, that speaks to the credibility of the DOJ, the Department of Justice itself, and their decision-making when it came to these redactions. Look at these two documents, separate files, sure, but not always different content. Quote, complainant was spoken to and deemed not credible. Additional research showed 3 separate blank, and then it's all redacted. However, this file isn't. The rest of the sentence says, quote, incidents involving police which requested in mandatory psychiatric evaluations, end quote. That right there, although small in a vacuum, is the very first example in a massive, massive pattern. A pattern where the DOJ is redacting things that make no sense. Things that they have no legal right to withhold, and things that may in fact matter a great deal. We just don't really have the ability to know because we don't have the full picture. Example, they literally redacted the word none in this file. And you can straight up read some of the other redactions because they're not centered properly. It's a joke.
That is incredible.
Even still, keeping in mind that the goal here is to analyze everything as objectively as possible, we need to do a bit of a fact check because despite massively viral social media claims all over the place, these 2 files were not actually pulled down or deleted immediately after publication. There were some 404 errors displayed on the DOJ website briefly, but they were ultimately resolved within minutes, I think, actually, and the files are now clearly visible again. I'm not sure why that happened. The sheer amount of traffic may very well have played a part.
They're using AI to redact. I don't know if they're using AI to find what they need to redact, but I don't think they're using AI to actually put the boxes on top of the text. Because ironically, I think even aggregate systems as inefficient as they are now, would still do a better job than half of these fucking chuds in the White House right now.
People flooded into
The army of Groiper interns, dude.
to the directory specifically searching for those particular files, and it's entirely possible that the DOJ panicked, deleted them, and then reinstated them, like they appear to have done previously with a different batch of files. But this time I honestly see no indication of that happening. This time it feels like a genuine glitch. Do you want to know what isn't a glitch? This right here, an FD 302 victim interview, which is mostly redacted, clearly protecting certain perpetrator names alongside the potential victims. But even from what we see unredacted, quote, Maxwell presented blank to Trump, and they had a conversation for approximately 20 minutes. Blank was invited to Mar-a-Lago, where she was given a tour by Trump with Epstein and Maxwell present. Nothing happened between Blank and Trump. By the things that Maxwell said, it was made clear that Blank was available. Maxwell said things like, "Oh, I think he likes you. Aren't you lucky? This is great." End quote. Put whatever kind of spin on that you want to. But what I see personally is a victim being presented to someone with the obvious implication that they can have her if they want her. These are very serious allegations, and they're not the only ones. The sole focus of the video, by the way, isn't just...
By the way, only in the United States, only in the United States can somebody be even remotely implicated in a case of this magnitude and this level of controversy, including sex with minors, Holy Mother of God, and for them to still not be impeached. For them to not by themselves immediately resign. Nowhere else. I'm very serious with this. Like, to hell with your American exceptionalism or whatever. You got to face that particular fact, my friend. Nowhere else. Imagine do Orientalism on steroids. Let's do an exercise. Do Orientalism on steroids. Seriously, do it. Do it. Like, open your racism chakras and imagine a country that you consider like incredibly quote-unquote barbaric. If their president was caught in a case like this, in the most barbaric country that you can think of, they would fire them. Or they themselves would resign. Or they would probably get arrested. They would be forced to leave government. They will be forced to leave government. At least will be forced to leave government. Okay? DR Congo would happen. Saudi Arabia would happen. I don't know, fucking Chile would happen. You cannot give me a single country on planet Earth, except the United States of America, where somebody is so directly implicated in a case like this and they wouldn't remove it. Russia wouldn't happen. If Putin was implicated, or at least proven to be implicated in this manner with something, even the Kremlin would be like, Jesus fucking Christ, man, we gotta do this. Israel and Argentina. Yeah, Israel. Okay. There you go. But I said, I was talking about countries that are not America. Israel is the United States, just in the Middle East. No, I don't think even in Afghanistan the Taliban would probably off you. The Taliban allow a lot of fucked up shit, but I don't think they allow this. So yeah, you can, the main argument I'm trying to make here, my dear friends, is you can no longer excuse away your low life standards, your grievances with your government, your grievances with your system, by telling yourself, hey, it might be bad here in Oklahoma, it might be bad here in Chicago, it might be bad here in New York, it might be bad here in Wisconsin, it might be bad here in Omaha. I don't know, Omaha, I always have to say it that way. But it's probably worse somewhere else. No, that train has passed, mate. That train has passed. Both on the material front, okay, your actual physical standards, and on the law and justice and true freedom front. That has passed. There's no more American exceptionalism. If there ever was, today it is gone. Today it is gone. So next time you hear that little voice in your head, oh, it might be bad, but we have freedom here at least. At least I'm not somewhere else. Kill that voice. Murder it. Slice its fucking throat. Throw it out with the fucking bathwater. Throw it off a bridge. Castrate it immediately. Pull its guts out and fucking Columbia necktie that motherfucker, okay? Because it wouldn't be correct. It would not be correct. You live in a shithole. Does it still have great potential to be fixed? Sure. But you gotta do something about it. So yes, no more excuses. Columbia necktie, your American exceptionalism today. It's on a motherfucking discount, like everything else in your country.
Donald Trump, so I'm not going to read all of them, but the gist of it is that there are incredibly damaging revelations about how close Trump and Epstein were, so far beyond what we've been told is true, it is no longer possible to hand-wave the files away as just a Democrat hoax. Pivoting back to the first two documents, I also want to point out something else. In between the spreadsheets and the accusations, we have emails in August of 2025. But the thing about these emails is that here we can see that they clearly acknowledge
Yes, the guts and the Columbia necktie are two separate things. I know what a Columbia necktie is. I know.
Of 2025. But the thing about these emails is that here we can see that they clearly acknowledge redacting a reporter's name who explicitly is not a victim. And
if you support doing Columbia neckties, we are reaching 45th minute. Columbia neckties on American exceptionalism as a concept, which you cannot ban me for this. Do consider subscribing individually, elevating yourself to a non-lumpen position in chat. Look, you'll have like a nice icon next to you. Like everybody will respect you more. You're going to be one of the crew, you know, a part of the community. That's number one. Number two, if you got a little bit more dough, you can pay your taxes. Or if you prefer the word oil, you go up. I always welcome those. We are still at 0 Western taxpayers. If you write exclamation point tax, we have a very reverse apartheid system here when it comes to taxation, okay? The further west you are and the whiter you are, the more subs you got to pay for your taxes. The more impoverished and the muddier your hut is, as we like to joke around, more developing world, the less taxes you have to pay weekly, okay? Try to hit 20, and today is the last day, so I need 7 Westerners to pay their taxes, which is 10 if you're a Western minority, 20 if you're a majority ethnicity in said Western country. It's a little gaff. It reverses apartheid, right? Yeah, that's the pitch. And if we reach the goal, we can gamba, which is always fantastic. Yesterday, I lost an absurd amount of money. A lot of you got new subs, so good for you, you pieces of shit. Those of you who do not know what gamba is, it's a legal gambling that we've invented. Only exists on this channel. Arguably the most illegal thing you can do on Twitch. I found a way to do it legally and to do it ethically, where the only guy that can potentially lose money is not you guys, it is me. I created gamba where the house always loses. So, yeah, that would be very fun. Thank you, Chuck Dies. Chuck always pays their taxes. Thank you very much for the $5. Cyberpunkusi, thank you for the gifty as always. Miss Pac-Man, wow, 2nd month. Thank you very much, Miss Pac-Man. But wouldn't you be Miss Pac? I mean, yeah, no, Miss Pac-Man makes sense. You're like Pac-Man's missus, so you're Miss Pac-Man. So yeah, no ads. We never play ads. No sponsors. None of that garbage. It is pretty crazy. Completely independent. We can say whatever we want. Yeah, I can't do the coffee thing. Did your mom ever watch like coffee cups, like to guess destinies and shit? Or is that just like Slavic and Turkish culture? I feel like, you know, when they would look at a coffee cup. But nowadays they make coffee cups where like the coffee doesn't actually get stuck on the thing, so there's nothing to like look at. It looks like nothing. It doesn't look like a human or a cloud or something. Isn't that Turkish thing? Not only Turkish, yeah. Reading tea leaves. You guys do tea leaves? I didn't know that. Asians do tea leaves. We do coffee patterns on the side of the thing. That's interesting. Ako nema soč, nije kafa, da, brate. Znaš, od kad sam ja pio tursku. Uzu sam ovde ženu, jebote, ne, ako nije iz mašine, ono, fancy kurac, palac, ona ga ne pije, jebote. Kad je odvedem kod nas kući u gradu, u Srbiju, neće ja pije ništa. Majka morala da kupi celu kafe mašinu kako bi mogla da pije nešto, jebote. Znači, za kafe kao iz Monte Carlo da sam je uzo, jebote. Džezvu nisam pomirisao 30 godina. Anyways, back on track.
Anthony Sibeli, I think is how you say it. While also on one of the sheets.
Thank you to everybody who's subscribing. Continue subscribing, especially Westerners. I am looking at you and I am judging you if you're a wealthy Westerner and if you've not paid your taxes. I thought I have a community of people that have jobs. Apparently I do not. I'm fucking with you. Thank you, Chuck. In America, we have a sign of luck. If your egg falls off the spatula onto the floor, it means good luck. Yeah, that's nice.
Failing to redact an actual potential victim name.
Samo češće moja žena pije tursku bez šećera, ujebote, ti si... Bravo. Će rađa dobru decu, kako kažeš. Svaka čast.
Leslie McMichael, in a further display of incompetence. Like I said previously, the video isn't focused solely on Donald Trump, but we're looking at well over 5,000 mentions of his name, and that's only the searchable portions of the archive that they've indexed, which hasn't even all been released so far. Let's move on to someone else, okay? Arguably the largest individual catalyst who has been deliberately stoking speculation about Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, and that is Elon Musk. Elon has long maintained his near total separation from Epstein. He claims
Lele Anaconda! Ti nisi naša neka jebut. Thank you for the Western taxes. Are you Western? Should I count it as a Western tax? That's what I'm talking about. Western minority showing up as always. Embarrassing. Yes, Canadian. Amazing. But do you have any background from my part of the world? Because Anya is a very common name. I even have like a cousin called Anya. Anja, right? Like maybe you call it Anja. But Anya, if it the n and the y make a nya. My dad is Slavic and I'm part Danish. There you go. Maybe your name is Anya. Okay. So Anya, Anaconda, Anaconda, Anya. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go. Okay. I guessed. Okay, lovely. Apologies. Let's continue.
Claims that the photograph Elon has about Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein.
Thank you for your taxes, my friend.
And that is Elon Musk. Elon has long maintained his near total separation from Epstein. He claims that the photograph of him and Ghislaine Maxwell is just a photobomb that she perpetrated and he had no idea about it. He claims that he was invited to Epstein Island but refused, and he desperately lashes out at...
What confuses me the most is them thinking that this will never be revealed. The cockiness is crazy. Or more likely, they actually don't really remember. They don't really remember. And you could make the argument for some of them, which would not, clean their hands in any way, shape, or form. But not him. Like, he was proactively courting Epstein to go to the fucking island.
One who insinuates otherwise over the past several months. Quote, "Shame on Sky News for this utterly misleading headline. Anyone pushing this false narrative deserves complete contempt. Epstein tried to get me to go to his island, and I refused. Yet they named me even before Prince Andrew, who did visit." End quote. Strong words, very defensive, but it turns out that we actually have emails between Musk, Epstein, and Leslie Groff, one of Epstein's assistants, reading, quote, Elon to Epstein, "Will be in the BVI/St. Bart's area over the holidays. Is there a good time to visit?" End quote. That's a little bit curious given his proclamations that Epstein invited him to the island, but let's read on. Epstein replies, "Any day 1st to 8th. Play it by ear if you want. Always space for you." After which Elon says, "Okay, probably the 1st then." They correspond back and forth a bit longer, but anyone who reads this conversation can decidedly say with certainty that Epstein was not asking Elon to go to his island. Elon was trying to go. Oh, that's not enough? Okay, I can understand that. Some people really drank the Kool-Aid. Here's an email from Musk to Epstein after Epstein asks, "How many people will you be for the heli to the island?" saying, quote, "Probably just Tallulah and me."
What the hell is
Tallulah
happening
was
with
his
him?
wife at the time. What day/night will be the wildest party on your island? End quote. Epstein tried to get me to go to his island, and I refused. Okay, yeah. Ultimately, for this particular set of exchanges, it doesn't look like Elon actually attended the party in 2012 or 2013, but a couple of months later, in February, we see this thread between Musk and Epstein, seemingly indicating that Epstein was given some kind of private tour of SpaceX. Interestingly, when it comes to Epstein receiving tours of various facilities, that's not even the only example. Right here, with this email, we can look at the competence of the redaction team yet again, and it's really not good. In this particular email from March of 2014, Epstein is corresponding with an unknown, redacted individual, and yet in this next thread, document EFTA 0098580, we can see the same exact email, this time unredacted, with the name Alan Jones. There is no justifiable or legal reason to be redacting that man's name. Just for the sake of really hammering this point home so that even the brain-dead fans of Elon Musk are still able to fully comprehend, let me read one more email thread before moving on to the next document. This one, December of 2012, which for clarity's sake is after Jeffrey Epstein was convicted of procuring a minor for prostitution in 2008. Quote from Epstein, "You are welcome to stay or just come for the day. Plenty of room. I will send heli to get you." End quote. To which Elon replies, "Do you have any parties planned? I've been working to the edge of sanity this year, and so once my kids head home after Christmas, I really want to hit the party scene in St. Bart's or elsewhere and let loose. The invitation is much appreciated, but a peaceful island experience is the opposite of what I'm looking for." End quote. Still not finished, by the way. Epstein replies, "Understood, I will see you on St. Barth. The ratio on my island might make Tallulah
So chat coded, it's incredible.
uncomfortable." End quote. After which Elon chimes in again, quote, "Ratio is not a problem for Tallulah." End quote.
That is very funny.
Honestly, I really don't think I have to spell it out here, but this is Elon Musk asking to join the most notorious pedophile in recent history on his personal island to let loose, deliberately requesting to be there for the wildest parties. And when Epstein indicates ratio, as in a lot of young women, which might make Elon's wife uncomfortable, Elon says, "Not a problem." And this takes place years after Epstein was convicted of sex crimes. Riddle me that one, Elon fans. Side point, here's two different versions of...
We must milk that. We must milk that 24/7. I say this almost every stream when we cover anything relating to Epstein. Just call them all pedophiles. Call them all pedophiles. Call all their fans pedophiles. You like Elon? You like a pedophile? You're justifying pedophilia? You think little girls should be raped? You're a raper of little girls? You like rapists? You like rapists? Unironically, that is praxis. That is how you should treat anyone who runs defense on any of these people. Because that's what they already do to us, but under a completely false pretense. We're like, maybe we should not have brown shirts running around the streets kidnapping people that you define as illegals. And they replied to us by saying, "Ha, you're just defending pedophiles. Actually, sex predators. Trump is only deporting the worst of the worst criminals. He's only deporting pedophiles and murderers and rapists. How can you defend that?" Okay, you want to use that tool set? You want to use that tool set in the culture war? You want to use that tool set? Okay, we'll use the same tool set. Call everyone defending Donald Trump, Elon Musk, Prince Andrew, Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, the whole barrage of people. Everybody who is in any significant way tied to Epstein post Epstein's arrest and prosecution should be deemed as a pedophile. And all of their supporters should therefore be called pedo lovers. Do it. That is praxis. Dirty the waters as much as you can. Anyone like openly supporting any of these people, openly being a fan of any of these people, openly defending any of these people should immediately be rightfully labeled as somebody doing pedophilia apologia. sex trafficking apologia. That is Praxis. Barry Weiss's wife, Nellie Bowles, is also in there, a CBS connection. There you go. Civility politics is a lib concept anyway. Calling these motherfuckers what they are is literally the most basic thing we should engage in. Absolutely. That is the mass line. Call reactionaries pedophiles. All your leaders like to touch children. Say it in their fucking face. Say it in their face. And the second they start defending themselves, but throw a curveball. And the curveball is, are you really trying to debate the difference between ephebophilia and pedophilia, you libertarian dog fucker?
The same exact page that the DOJ uploaded. One of them redacts Elon's email address. The other redacts metadata. Combined, you can see the full page, obviously, thus rendering all of the redactions void. And they even shouldn't have been censored in the first place. So double whammy. Amazing. Now that we're talking about billionaires, however, let's just keep talking about that precious class of person, the billionaires. Remember Bill Gates, notoriously close with Epstein for like decades? Yeah, this email right here,
Chuck, thank you very much for the second gifty,
appears to show that Gates allegedly requested antibiotics from Epstein so that he could secretly give them to...
We watched this yesterday. Okay, I think we know all of them. Let's see some of the most recent news. I think this concerns Prince Andrew. Oh, the monarchs like weird sex parties. Look at all of us. We are so surprised.
Pictures appearing to show Andrew Mountbatten Windsor.
Andrew Mountbatten Windsor is facing questions about a new accusation from a victim
Thank you, Chuck. One more time.
of Jeffrey Epstein, alleging that the late paedophile sent the woman to the UK for a sexual encounter with the former prince. The encounter allegedly happened at his royal residence in 2010. The woman, who is not British, was in her 20s at the time. Her lawyer says they are considering legal action. BBC News has asked Mr Mountbatten Windsor for comment, but he's so far not responded. He has previously denied any wrongdoing. Chichi Azindu has this special report.
Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, once a prominent member of the royal family living in disgrace. Now, a second woman alleges she was sent to him for a sexual encounter on the instruction of the sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
Whoever you are, nobody is above the law. And I think
Her lawyer is Brad Edwards, who represents hundreds of Epstein's victims.
there are certain people, certain victims that Prince Andrew hurt.
The woman is alleging she was flown to the UK by Epstein, and her lawyer says it was to comply sexually with Andrew. She says she was in her 20s and is claiming the sex occurred at Royal Lodge, the 30-bedroom Windsor home the former prince has been asked to leave because of his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein.
It's incredible. You have that much money and that much power, and you still have to hit up a very, very weird rich guy from the States to fly out a prostitute all the way to the UK. What the fuck? These people don't even know how to use their evil money in an evil, pragmatic way. It's not only fucked up, it's also pathetic.
Epstein. This is the first time an accusation has been made involving royal residences.
We're talking about at least one woman who was sent by Jeffrey Epstein over.
Appearances and reputation, but it backfired. That's what I'm trying to say. I would expect the evil elite, or whatever you want to call them, to be much more efficient at protecting their appearances and reputation. I expected them to be much better at hiding all of this and not associate themselves with a guy who at that point has been publicly prosecuted for those types of crimes, and you still use him as your middleman for sex workers and children. You understand what I'm saying? Like, that is stupid. It's dumb. I don't get it. I don't get it. It's dumb. If I was an evil, rich pedophile guy, I would definitely not use a very famously charged and already previously imprisoned pedophilia millionaire guy.
to Prince Andrew, and she even,
They're incompetent by nature. Apparently they are.
after a night with Prince Andrew, had a tour of Buckingham Palace.
So I just want to go back a step. We are not talking about Virginia
We are
Giuffre.
not talking about Virginia Giuffre.
Have you got anything to say about Prince Andrew? Not at the moment.
Virginia Giuffre, who took her own life last year, accused the former Duke of York of having sex with her when she was 17. In 2022, Giuffre and the former prince settled a civil lawsuit for an estimated $12 million. Andrew has always denied her accusations. BBC News has seen an email exchange between Andrew and the woman making arrangements for the meeting in 2010. That's just weeks after Epstein's sentence ended for soliciting sex from a 14-year-old girl.
And the introduction was made.
Yeah, socialist scientists, we talk about that all the time on the show. That is correct. I'm talking about the logistics utilized in order to get access to children. One would expect a public person of great wealth with a massive resume, one would expect him to be better at hiding the fact that he enjoys doing this sort of fucked up shit. The way they've done it, I find to be incredibly, incredibly incompetent. Understand?
Because
That's the only thing I will say.
of Jeffrey Epstein.
The introduction was made by Jeffrey Epstein because of his close association and friendship with Prince Andrew.
And with the release of millions of documents, images and video footage from the US government's investigation into Jeffrey Epstein, it is clear that the pair had a close association and friendship. BBC News has repeatedly asked Andrew Mountbatten Windsor,
Why would they try harder to hide this when they face absolutely no consequences? That is a very decent analysis, Atomic Lich.
for comment.
Yeah. That is a very decent potential answer. They never get caught with anything. Why the fuck would they take precautions? Absolutely. Let me go get myself some more coffee. You guys enjoy yourself with Ho Chi Minh. And maybe surprise me by the time I'm back. Another Western taxpayer. That would be crazy. That would be crazy!
About these new allegations, but so far he has not responded.
And at this point in time, we have no one to even communicate with on behalf of Prince Andrew. He's seemingly been disconnected from his lawyers, which was the only way to kind of communicate with him about this. I mean, all we can do is file a civil lawsuit.
Last year, the King formally removed Andrew's styles and honours, including his title of Prince. The statement from Buckingham Palace in October said their Majesties wish to make clear that their thoughts and utmost sympathies have been and will remain with the victims and survivors of any and all forms of abuse. Jeffrey Epstein died by suicide in 2019. But the Epstein story is still in the news because the women he abused are still fighting for justice. Chichi Zundu, BBC News.
Separately, pictures appearing to show Andrew Mountbatten Windsor crouched over an unidentified woman are featured in the latest released batch of Epstein files that Chichi mentioned, part of more than 3 million documents published on Friday. Sir Keir Starmer has repeated his suggestion that anyone with information, including Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, should be prepared to testify before the US Congress about his dealings with Epstein. Ellie Price has more.
BBC Verify has matched the background of these images with the interior of Jeffrey Epstein's New York apartment. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor appears to be kneeling over and touching a female whose identity has been hidden. The photos were released with no context or date. But of the 180,000 images released, these pictures of the King's brother seem to be what everyone is talking about. Even the Prime Minister, who in the strongest terms yet said Andrew should testify before the US Congress over his dealings with Jeffrey Epstein. He said anybody who had got information should be prepared to share it. Epstein's victims, he said, have to be the first priority. Andrew, who was stripped of all his royal titles in October, has always denied any criminal wrongdoing. But this latest batch of files, once again, doesn't look good and raises serious questions about judgment and timing. In an email exchange from 2010, 2 years after Epstein had been convicted of soliciting sex from a 14-year-old girl in Florida, and very shortly after he finished his sentence, Epstein suggested he met with a woman in London who he might enjoy having dinner with. Andrew replies he would be delighted. Epstein writes back, "She's 26, Russian, clever and beautiful, and yes, she has your email." Andrew replies again, "How are you? Good to be free?" And just over a month later, a very exclusive invitation. "We could have dinner at Buckingham Palace and lots of privacy," asked the then Duke.
Oh.
Epstein replies,
I'm back. Any surprises? Anya Conda continued a sub. Anya Conda is my oiler of this lovely day.
please.
You guys are talking about boats? Jesus, I leave for 2 seconds. Boats. Scafism are too good for these fucks. What are you talking about? Scafism. There's no article on scafism. Or there is, wait. It is reported by Plutarch in his Life of Artaxerxes, citing Ctesias, an ancient Persian method of execution. He describes the victim being trapped between two small boats, one inverted on top of the other, with limbs and head sticking out, feeding them and smearing them with milk and honey. Oh, that classic. And allowing them to fester and be devoured by insects and other vermin over time. One of the worst ways to go, I think. It's pretty bad. Thank you, Naw Crester. Thank you very much for the gifty. So that's what you meant. Now I understand. Now I definitely understand.
And then says he is with some women, names redacted.
Do you enjoy weed? Sometimes. Not really my thing. I'm more of an ethanol guy. But it's fine.
And asks if he should bring them to add some life. Andrew replies, yes. The former Duke's former wife is also mentioned in the documents. In 2009, Sarah Ferguson thanks Epstein for being the brother I have always wished for. Later she writes, "My dear spectacular and special friend Jeffrey, you are a legend and I am so proud of you." The financier
You
was
are
still
a legend!
serving his sentence for his conviction for sexual offences involving children at the time. There are also lawyers' letters about deals to pay off the former Duchess's debts and an email from Epstein claiming to have helped her financially for 15 years. The former Duchess of York has been approached for comment.
We will continue.
The new files also contain further revelations relating to Peter Mandelson, who last year was sacked as British ambassador to Washington because of his links to Epstein. They include the claim that the sex offender lent money to Lord Mandelson's partner, and a photo in his underwear with an unidentified woman. Lord Mandelson has said he couldn't place the location, the woman or the circumstances, and has apologised for his friendship, what he described as a most terrible mistake, and says he wasn't culpable or complicit in Epstein's crimes. There are 3 million documents in this latest release, but with many papers withheld, Jeffrey Epstein's victims do not believe they've been given the whole truth. There's anger too that names of some of the survivors have been publicly released when they should have been redacted.
Many of the names of my clients who have been Jane Doe for many, many years were in fact published, and this is devastating to them.
Andrew Mountbatten Windsor was out horse riding yesterday near the home he's soon having to move out of in Windsor. He hasn't responded to the most recent revelations, but has always strenuously denied doing anything wrong.
Okay, we milk this as much as we can, almost as much as they milk those children, but...